Hello, fifth graders. Welcome to lesson 5.8, fraction word problems. Let's get started. Today's lesson objective is I can evaluate word problems by using addition and subtraction of fractions with mixed numbers, with and without regrouping, with 100% accuracy in multiple attempts. Please pause to write the I can and by statement in your digital math notebook now. All right, fifth graders, in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at word problems. Sometimes when we have word problems, it's good to have a strategy. One strategy is the cubes method. In the cubes method, we're going to circle our numbers, underline our questions, box in keywords, and if we need to, cross out any extra information, and then solve. So let's read our problem. It says, a penguin nursery is open 2 times a day, 2/3 of an hour at noon, and 5/12 of an hour in the afternoon. How much time is the penguin nursery open every day? So first off, let's circle our numbers. We have 2/3 and 5/12. Let's go back and underline our question. Our question has a question mark, so it's going to come at the end. How much time is the penguin nursery open every day? All right, let's go back and see if we can find some keywords. It is open 2 times a day. Those were our 2 numbers. And they told us noon and in the afternoon. And let's see, I think that means we're going to have to add. So what steps are we going to take? We're going to add these 2 numbers. So now that we have found our numbers and evaluated what we're going to do with them, we can solve. So we're going to add 2/3 plus 5/12. 2/3 and 5/12 do not have common denominators, so we need to find a common denominator. So we can count 3, 6, 9, 12, 24, 36. Oh, look at that. We already have a common number. That number is 12. That means that I can leave 5/12 alone, but I need to change 2/3 into something over 12. 3 can go into 12 if we multiply by 4. And if we multiply by 4 on the bottom, we have to multiply by 4 on the top. 2 times 4 is 8. So let's rewrite these 2 numbers. We have 8/12 plus 5/12 gives us 13/12. Now 13/12 is improper, so we need to change that. 12 goes into 13 one time. 13 minus 12 is 1. So we have 1 and 1/12 as our final answer. Let's do some problems together. All right, here's our problem. Miss Bloom had 4 and 7/12 boxes of pencils, but 2 and 1/12 boxes of the pencils were broken. After she threw out the broken pencils, how many boxes of pencils were left? So let's first start off with circling our numbers. So we have 4 and 7/12 and 2 and 1/12. Now let's ask ourselves, what are we trying to find? So our question is, after she threw out the broken pencils, how many boxes of pencils were left? And that sentence had some keywords, so let's box keywords. She threw out the broken pencils. So that tells us that we're going to subtract. And this word too, how many boxes are left? That also tells me that we're going to subtract. So if we look at our word problems for those key words like broken and thrown out, that tells us what we're going to do with our numbers. So now that we know what we're going to do, let's solve our problem. We have 4 and 7/12 minus 2 and 1/12. Now let's see, we already have a common denominator. Perfect, so we don't need to find a common denominator. we need to subtract. 7 is bigger than 1, so we don't have to borrow. 7 minus 1 is 6 twelfths, and 4 minus 2 is 2. So we have 2 and 6 twelfths. 6 and 12 both have a common multiple of 6. So if I divide both the top and the bottom by 6, I can reduce it down to 1/2. That means that my answer would be 2 and 1/2. So Miss Bloom had 2.5 boxes of pencils left over. Make sure that you pause to write your answers in your digital math notebook now. All right, friends, time for the lesson activity. You can use the tools in your digital math notebook to put boxes and underlines and highlights around the word problems as we read it together. Della bought a tree seedling that was 2.25 foot tall. During the first year, it grew 1 1/6 feet. After 2 years, it was 5 feet tall. How much did the seedling grow during the second year? Okay, let's go back and start with our numbers because there's a lot in here. We have 2 1/4, we have 1 1/6, and we also have the number 5. Oh, there's 3 numbers, so let's find our question to see what we're going to do. After 2 years, it was 5 feet tall, not a question, okay? How much did the seedling grow during the second year? And I'm going to box that word, second year. So she bought a tree. It was 2 1/4 tall. During the first year, this is important, first year, it grew. Grew means that we're going to add because grow gets bigger, 1 1/6 feet. After 2 years, it was 5 feet tall. Okay, so after is another key word too. So I'm seeing here that we're going to have multiple steps. Our first step is that we're going to have to add, and then we're going to have to find the difference between what it was after the first year and the 5 feet. So we're going to have to subtract. So we have 2 steps we're going to have to solve here. So our first part of our problem is adding. We have 2 1/4 plus 1 1/6. Well, we do not have common denominators. So the first thing that we need to do is find a common denominator. 6 and 12 both go into the number 12. So in order to change a 4 into a 12, we multiply by 3. And if we multiply by 3 on the bottom, we have to multiply by 3 on the top. So 1 times 3 is 3. And let's do the same for the 6. We're going to change the 6 into a 12. In order to change 6 into a 12, we multiply by 2. If I multiply by 2 on the bottom, I have to multiply by 2 on the top. And 1 times 2 is 2. And that's kind of squishy, so let's rewrite it. So I have 2 3/12 plus 1 2/12. All right, now that we have common denominators, we can add. 3 plus 2 is 5/12, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So at the end of the first year, her tree was 3 5/12 feet. But at the end of the second year, it was 5 feet. So we need to know how much it grew between the 5 feet and the 3 5/12. So we're going to do our second step, 5, and I'm going to call this 0/12 because we already have 12ths, so we want to keep our denominator simple, minus 3 5/12. Well, if we have 0/12, then we can't take away 5, so we have to remember our skills of borrowing. So we go over to our 5 and we borrow, and it becomes a 4. And we move a 1 over into fraction land, and in fraction land, it has to have its fraction name, so this is 12/12. Now we can subtract. 12 minus 5 is 7/12, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So that tells us that in that second year, the tree grew 1 7/12. twelfths. I know that you won't have boxes for all of this work, but type in what you can, and you can use your underline or your highlights to show how we figured out this problem in your digital math notebook. All right, fifth graders, you're almost finished. When your digital math notebook is complete, then you can complete your exit slip and be ready to meet your teacher at the table. Great job!